Digital Fortress by Dan Brown. This is a 430-page book with 129 chapters. That is a lot of chapters. This is a Dan Brown thriller about the National Security Agency in the US. A privacy versus protection kind of battle, right? There is the encryption standards that allow for privacy. Like nobody can break into or read your email based on those encryption protocols. But really there's the protection side of it. If there is a quote unquote bad guy, then, shouldn't the people who are out to protect us be able to protect us by reading those emails? So that's the kind of pull and tug of war that's going on. And that was the centerpiece of this novel. So female lead, Susan Fletcher, is the head cryptographer in this novel. She is in charge of, I don't know, they don't exactly say, somewhere between around 10 cryptographers, and then there is a deputy director above her, and then a director of the NSA. So that's kind of the hierarchy where she fits in. She likes solving puzzles, and I got a poem in middle school that was encrypted with, I'm trying to remember if it was a cipher or if it was just a shifted letter. Either way, ever since she's been hooked on puzzles and cryptography, that kind of thing. So this whole book takes place on a Saturday. So you'd think that the government wouldn't be working on a Saturday or a weekend, but few people do go into the office on Saturday, and this is when it takes place. And the setting is the NSA headquarters in Maryland and the trip to Spain. Susan's fiance gets sent to Spain to look for a ring. The nemesis or the antagonist of this book, he used to work for the NSA, and he disagreed with the ability to read everyone's email. So he wanted to break that and tell the world that, hey, the NSA can read everyone's email regardless. And so he came up with this Digital Fortress program. I won't reveal all the secrets, but somehow he encourages the NSA to run this Digital Fortress program that is supposed to be an unbreakable algorithm. And their machine starts running it, and that's where things go wrong. So I don't want to give anything away. And there were a few things that I didn't like. The chapters were almost too short. Some of them were only one page. Like, it was just crazy. It was like I could read, 5 chapters in a couple minutes. It was just crazy short. So that kind of took away from it. For me, it was almost like whiplash, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between different characters. So I think the assistants could have been combined. Maybe chapter 60 or 70, they start introducing like the director's assistants. Then there's Midge and stuff like that. I think they could have combined a few of those characters and had less, and maybe, I don't know. Either way, not a huge deal. It was just something minor. But what really did take me out of the book and made it difficult for me to continue was, in my opinion, Dan Brown jumped the shark when he said about the trip to Spain that it has been a comedy of errors. That had been what I thought in my head, like that's how I categorized it and described it. But when the book explicitly said David is on a comedy of errors, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, that was when it kind of like went into cliche territory for me. So I struggled with it after that, but it was still the Spain side of it was a lot of fun, and it was neat. All the scenes were good. So some of the things I did like was the church scene in Spain. The fiance is on the run, and there's, a mercenary killer out to get him. And of course he hides in a church. So the wild mass is going on. That was fun. And then the punk rockers, that was cool. The end of the line, the bus scene. So I don't want to give anything away, but those were 2 good ones in Spain. There was some historical cryptography stuff. There's the Caesar's perfect square. I really liked that. Hiding the messages with vertical text in 4x4 grids and 8x8, you get the step up there. Really, I think that this did play well with the characters. The government hired, Rockstar developers, Rockstar cryptographers, and really those Rockstar programmers aren't team players. And that really fit in well with the storyline that they were a bunch of, individuals that wouldn't be good at communicating and working together. So that kind of added to the drama there. Yep, this was a good book that held up. Most of the technology still applies. They talked about pagers, which are a little bit out of date, but not too bad. So it still kind of holds up. I thought this was a good book, not a great book, because it was too fast paced. If it had been if you'd been able to stay with the characters a little bit more and it wasn't quite as breakneck speed, I think it could have been better. But Dan Brown is a great author. He did a really good job with all of his background information. All the settings were really realistic and all the characters were really good. It just, to me, it was almost like Whiplash. So I did have a quote here, who watches the watchers? That was pretty interesting, and that kind of derives the whole, scene. Like, who is watching the government cryptographers who are breaking into everyone's email and, reading all their secrets. So that's what this revolved around, and it was a good novel. So if you like Dan Brown, go for it. This was a thriller with lots of twists and turns. And as always, buy your books used if you can.